Functions can also be defined by tables. Tables can be written either vertically or horizontally. I've given one example of each. The main thing when you're looking at a table, when a function is defined that way, is to keep in mind that the definition of the table will come first. So in this first example for the function p, because the table is oriented vertically, I have x values. My definition is that the x comes in the first column. So you would be looking at x values down the first column. And p of x, which remember, when you show p of x, that is actually giving you the output, or maybe the y value would be values in the second column. So let's look at answering some questions based on this table. So the first thing I ask is, what is p of 3? Remember, anytime you have an inside value, you're talking about an x value. So if we go to the graph and we look for where x is equal to 3, here's an x value of 3. That corresponds to an output of 7. So p of 3 would be equal to 7. In part B, I say solve p of x equals 5. So in this case, we're given an output, so a 5 that is in the p of x column. So go to the p of x column and down to 5, and then look over to what x was originally. So we're solving for x. So x here was 0. When our output was 5, it came from an input of 0. Here's two more to try. P of 2, look for a 2 as an x value. So here's 2 as an x value. Go across in the table, and our output is 3. In part D, we have p of x equals 3. So look for an output of 3. And it turns out there's two outputs of 3. And then the inputs that correspond to that are both -2 and 2. So we end up with two answers here. This is similar to one of the examples we had with graphs. If you can have two inputs for a single output, two people can get the same grade in a class. So there's one example of a table that's shown to you vertically. In the next example with a table, we have a situation where we're looking at data. The following table defines a function f that gives Juanita's salary in thousands of dollars as a function of time in years she worked at a company. So here the information is given horizontally. So x's are listed horizontally across the table, and then f of x, or the output, would be listed horizontally as well. So be careful, tables can be given both ways. If we wanted to evaluate f of 2, 2 is the x value. When x is 2 in the table, the corresponding y value would be 44. So f of 2 would be equal to 44. To interpret that, we want to say what that means. Remember, 2 is an x value, and it's going to give us as an input, the input of this function is the time in years that she worked. So when Juanita had worked 2 years, we have an output of 44. That is her salary in thousands of dollars. So she earned 44,000. I'll put zeros in because it's easier than writing 1,000 per year. In the next example, f of x equals 53, we're given an output. So that's her salary, and we want to know when she made that. So the output is 53. Go back to what the x value was. X is 4. So she earned $53,000 4 years after working for the company. Now, there's many ways you can write out an interpretation like this. I could have said 4 years after working for the company, Juanita was earning $53,000. There's different ways you can say that. The main thing is to get in both the input and the output and interpret them correctly together.